may not have receipts for today, but we'll just talk about here and there. Of course, there are too many, but we just pick some few. So, of course, the GSU officer was attacked and killed outside State House. All right. That is a story that is really actually just has been streamed let's say in 24 minutes ago. But away from that, we realized that there is a lot in air. Of course, there was Katani land dispute which led to firing of a firearm or gunshot that led to the death of one and injury of two. All right, let's just look at this before we proceed. Before we proceed to the State House officer aspect.
In one of the videos now under investigation as part of the ongoing probe into a shooting incident, an unidentified man is captured on record shooting aimlessly at people who are chasing him for allegedly assaulting and threatening a land dealer within Viraji Estate near Katani, Machakos County.
Nikapata wamemhanda kwa nje ya gari na wako ndani ya gari wamemwegemezea bunduki. So ikabaki ni fracas, huyo jamaa akatoka akaanza kushoot juu.
In the blink of an eye, the shooter hit his target with the bullet striking Samuel Muiruri Maina to his left chest. Samuel dropped to the ground dead as the unknown man disappeared.
Risasi zikalia kwa kidogo na Sami ameletwa. Analetwa na pikipiki hivi. Jamaa wadu akatoa kagu Samari tena akapatia yule anaweza peleka gari chukua hii pickup yangu mpeleke hospitali.
Angry youth who were pursuing him turned their rush to a motor vehicle that the suspect and his partner had used to get to the scene. The vehicle was vandalized and set ablaze as locals targeted this man identified as Farah. It is said Farah, who owns this property in Katani, arrived here and called Muiruri requesting to meet him over a business deal. Shortly after, the meeting took a twist as Farah and the gun-wielding suspect descended on Muiruri with kicks and blows. The fighting attracted a mob which fought back. It is in the confusion that Muiruri was shot.
Ali unaita mtu unakuja unampigia risasi hapo. Ati hadi uko sure ni mtu ameshajipanga ile kitu anataka kufanya. Amejileta mwenyewe mpaka akampiga risasi.
The tragic shooting quickly escalated into protest as locals wanted to lynch Farah. The man was taken into custody as protesters pursued him and forced their entry into SNP Mavoko police station, baying for his blood. The shooter was in the company of Farah, the owner of this property. It is said Farah has been at the center.
Our sign language interpreter is
narrating. All right, those are sad news, right? The shooting that led to the death of this guy, Muiruri, is actually a tragic incident. Mayank Chaudhry, welcome to the platform. We have Carlos Chirchir, welcome to the platform. And we have Roged Mials. Guys, please subscribe to the channel. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel because that is the only glucose we get here on the platform as something to maintain our energy. All right, thank you so much. So looking at that, actually land disputes are the worst situations in any country. And I think, of course, Kenya, land disputes lead to death. And when you look at the war between Farah and Muiruri, you realize that there was a premeditated aspect that led to the death of Muiruri. Because for him to be called by Farah to the place, and Farah had a gun, it means he had already planned on what he will do, and he decided to prosecute whatever plans he had. May his soul rest in peace. However, this teaches a lesson. And this is why we are so worried about the IDs that are being offered left, right, because automatically we will have people will be getting the rightful citizenship and they have the right now to buy property in Kenya, and you might not know their background. Now, this guy has property at Mavoko, right? And looking at that, it tells us that there is some danger. Some people maybe are even armed owners of arms. And if they shot somebody, they may not be actually even prosecuted anywhere, all right? They'll be immune to any prosecution process. But this is it. It has happened. So what is our learning point? You know, these are sagas that we get every day. Anyway, let's move to the second story. The GSU officer attacked and killed outside State House as an assailant was arrested on the spot, of course. So, of course, today we've had very sad news, one after the other. And crime scenes, you know, not easy to have people wagging guns and just shooting like that. But let's check on this and see what we were offered by KTN today, some minutes ago.
Witnesses say the 56-year-old assailant approached the area pretending to be a street dweller and fatally speared the officer in the chest before being overpowered.
The National Police Service has confirmed the incident, saying GSU officers while on duty swiftly subdued and arrested the attacker, and that an investigation into the motive and circumstances surrounding the assault has since been launched.
Our reporter Wanjiku Wanjiru starts us off.
In a statement, the National Police Service has confirmed a tragic incident that occurred on Monday morning at around 8:10 a.m. near State House Gate D in Nairobi. Witnesses said the officer was on duty with colleagues when a 56-year-old man approached the area pretending to be a street dweller while carrying a sack that concealed a spear. The assailant is reported to have hidden behind a flower bed before suddenly spearing the officer in the chest, inflicting fatal injuries. The fallen officer has been identified as Police Constable Ramathan Matanka. According to the statement, he was rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries while undergoing treatment. His body has since been moved to the hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem examination. The National Police Service has condemned the attack, describing it as heinous and confirming that investigation.
In fact, that is a heinous act, but then we would add 1 + 1 and maybe get 2. What is the possibility that this guy possibly was on a revenge mission? Something like that. Because if you look at those pictures, you look at somebody coming around, you think it's a street dweller. In fact, somebody left or maybe using drugs. But at the end of the day, he did his mission, and even when he's arrested, he's already accomplished his mission. So it's possibly something again premeditated, just like the Raj story over land. So maybe investigation deep will show something to do with the fight over something, or it might just be somebody who is sober or actually even sane, but who was coming on a revenge mission, or rather maybe sent by somebody. Anyway, we are waiting for investigation to go on and establish. But from the the other end, I think with such breaking news, it tells us something currently. You may not actually believe that all the people we see on the streets looking crazy are crazy. Maybe some of them are just there for a mission. And when you see somebody carrying something, I've always been warned from childhood, be careful. Don't even allow them to give you that luggage. And most people who carry things and approaches, sometimes they are dangerous. They are dangerous because you may never know what they're carrying, whether it's a bomb or something. So anyway, it is what it is. It already happened. So we are flowing to the next story. So another political aspect that happened today is, remember such an incident will shake Kenya. Why? They are political times, all right? These are political times. And what if somebody is trying to experiment, if there are experiments somebody is doing, what do you think about this? I'm just trying to overthink, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so of course we have a story about 3 missing youth whose bodies were recovered from Tudor boat tragedy. Yeah, after the East African Festival. Of course, there was an East African Festival, and we had young people who disappeared, but of course they were discovered from Tudor end after the boat, of course, capsized some time ago, and finally they were recovered. Yeah, so let's get to other aspects. I want to go to hard politics. Of course, there is one discussion surrounding everything, and that is the jet scandal. And when you look into the jet scandal, there is a lot of discussion surrounding it, some ironical, some funny, and many people are actually saying that when our current president came to the people asking for votes, he talked about the bottom up. So the bottom-up initiative motivated a lot of people to believe that border borders and the Mama Mboga and everybody who is low would have a better life. However, things have turned different, and instead of that, people are sailing down into, we can say they're wallowing in poverty, all right? So when you look at the current Vietnam deal, you realize that drones, military technology, and everything else, we have a political conveniency that is favoring some people. And therefore, a man who actually used to live on feather chicken, that is the analogy, and who used to be actually having a narrative around chicken pen, now is flourishing in jets and living in the clouds. So it becomes a different phenomenon all the same. Like, that's where people say living in a dream or something like that. Okay? So we've heard Gachagua talking about the flying campaign circus. And he's talked about the fact that there is a lot of looting. And we've seen a lot of Gachagua talking about it and trying to engineer the narrative of rebellion. All right? So Gachagua has been reminding Kenyans that actually the Kenyans have been disregarded, deserted, forgotten, abandoned. You can choose whichever words you'll use, but all the same, they rotate around the same narrative. And of course, looking at the amount of money, if at all jets are being bought, you can imagine how much money is that. And you couldn't imagine that we could have lecturers on the street for this long time, teachers who complain of low salaries, and roads which are not fully constructed, hospitals where there are no medicine, patients who cannot have full attention to their health, and even agricultural progress that it cannot be seen as much. We just hear about them in figures, but in reality, we cannot taste to whatever people say is there. All right? So the luxury mobility has slowly been replacing the basics for the common citizens, for the few people who are maybe close to leadership. Because look at people like Farouk, look at people like Kimani Ichung'wah, look at people like Oscar Sudi, look at people like CS, the CS who talked about shooting. My goodness, why should I forget the Interior Minister, actually, Murkomen. So when you look at the few, then they are living in the skies with jets and everything around them. But when you look at the common citizen, all they are doing is rusting and hopelessly continuing to be disillusioned, because most of them don't have even that spirit to go and keep working, toiling, Now, so far on October 12th, so far by, is it October 13th, which is today, we've not had the government actually confirming or disapproving or denying anything that the opposition, people like Sifuna, Babu, Hamisi, Gachagua, Omutata, who else? Natembea, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, Matiang, Maraga, and the likes. What they have been mentioning, we've not had anybody denying or confirming. All they do is to stand and say those people don't have a manifesto, they don't have a plan, but we have. You see, that is actually what we get. Now, look at the collaboration that are happening also. Look at Gideon collaboration into government. We saw Uhuru Kenyatta. We have also seen Raila Odinga. Now, what Ruto is trying to do is to make sure that he grabs all those former failures from some point of view, like the opposition that has failed, the former government that failed, and all those circles. And Gideon Moi, who failed because he did not trust himself as somebody who would lead Baringo. All of those have been collected, a bunch of failures to work together with him to engineer the all right, so what we can say is that when you look at the current regime, what it did, it forgot about its origins. Like if we look at Ruto himself, he forgot about his origins, he forgot about the manifesto, he dumped it in the ocean the moment he got into office. And what he's trying to do is to frustrate the narrative of hustler and actually build the narrative of billionaire. So possibly he got there to prove a point that he could actually, someone can get from zero to hero. He doesn't look like he got there to prove that he can work for the people. And he's still living his dream because he stands there and says he is the best for the people. He's the best in academics, he's the best in leadership, he's the best in everything, you know. Now, I was just looking into statistics of the former, what has happened in other countries, and I was looking at what happened in November 2023. Of course, we saw Liberia went into elections, and we had the one-term narrative succeeding. We had Botswana, which also went into election in November 2024. The one-term narrative worked. And Ghana, 2024, when was this? October? No. December 2024? Yeah, that is when we had Ghana going into elections and the one-term narrative won. Then Malawi did that in September 2025, very recent, okay? Seychelles did that yesterday, yeah. October 2025. Now it's us hanging on August 2027. What will happen? All right. So let's get to the second story, and that is Moses Kuria. Of course, Moses Kuria did a tweet. He did a tweet to Gachagua, trying to tell him that as a brother, he's trying to talk to Gachagua. And he believes that Gachagua is now the kingpin of Central, or rather the mountain. However, all he was doing is that he may reconsider working with him, but he should cease insulting the women and other leaders from Mulima. Now, to this, there was a young person who responded. I think if you watched from Embu side, you saw a young person who was responding to it, and the young person was actually trying to ask that KURIA should not be giving, restrictions or rather demands to Kingpin. He should be coming in to work with them based on what is already there. And afterwards, KURIA actually had to respond again and say that he thought that he could have worked with Gachagua. However, he realized that Gachagua is working with who? He called them something. He said that he's working with, let me just check. There's something he said there that actually stood out negatively. Yeah, that he's surrounding himself with idiotic lampens and neophytes and rookies that make his bar fall low. So he may not really be interested again to work with him. So KURIA actually now decides that he wants to vie for the gubernatorial seat of Nairobi. What do you think about this? Because Babu is there and he's been working day night to make sure that he traverses the world. Now, according to KURIA, he's saying that Sakaja is actually not working at all, and Raila Odinga told him that Nairobi cannot continue to be filled with field cabbage and incompetent leaders. And I was asking myself, how true is this? Because recently, We saw an attempt by the MCS to impeach Sakaja, and Raila defended him. So I'm just surprised that this had to happen. Anyway, let's get here and listen to something here. We are just going to take about 30 minutes because I've seen my watch hours in edutainment are still low. I need to go work on them again.
It was supposed to be a simple football tournament, laughter, unity and community, but in seconds, it turned into political humiliation. Governor Mutuma Mezingia stood on stage in Igembe, ready to sell his two-term slogan, "We are together." 2 terms, kazi bila break. Instead, the crowd turned on him with one electrifying chant, "One term." That one word carried more political power than any speech could have delivered. It wasn't just heckling, it was rebellion. October 12th, 2025, a date that will likely haunt the Meru governor's campaign team. The event was carefully staged, banners reading 2-term na Governor Mutuma, William Ruto, DP Kindiki, youths branded in t-shirts and county officials lined up for optics. But when he took the mic, the atmosphere flipped. Residents, many frustrated by unfulfilled promises and rising living costs, drowned his voice in a sea of...
There is no such embarrassment as what happened at as what happened at Meru, actually. Remember, that time Gachagua had gone to Embu, but in Meru, as the governor Mutuma Ethiengia walked up to speak and sell his 2-term narrative, nobody was ready to listen. What an embarrassment, okay? What an embarrassment. On the other hand, of course, we saw Kalonzo and Mutula Kilonzo actually addressing Ruto and telling him that they are ready to pull him out of office because of failure to fulfill what the citizens wanted from him. All right? And of course, you know very well, and of course I was supposed to do this earlier, but what is known is that there's a reshuffling. There is a reshuffling that is awaiting to happen in the cabinet. And of course, we had been predicting a high possibility that Gideon Moi will be given a position and many more people will be brought on board. So there is high possibility that at the same time, there is somebody who's going to be removed from his position. And of course, so far, Gideon Moi is appointed already as the Deputy Prime Cabinet. That is Kenya for you. People trying to defend positions and making sure that they're in government, regardless of what happens, to the people. That's the spirit that is actually killing Kenyan politics slowly by slowly. Okay? Yeah, so there was something else I was supposed to talk about. What was that? The women who are demonstrating in Kirinyaga.
Elsewhere, residents of Kirinyaga County have come out to defend Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru following recent attacks by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The group, which held demonstrations in Kutu's town, castigated Gachagua, saying he has resorted to divisive politics and personal attacks instead of focusing on constructive leadership, even as he marshaled support ahead of the 2027 elections. The residents who hailed Governor Waiguru as a trailblazer who has redefined women leadership in the country, for being the only woman to serve 2 terms as governor and chair the Council of Governors, have called out Gachagua for displaying bias against women-led counties. They have also dismissed Gachagua's efforts to crown himself as the Mount Kenya political kingpin, saying leadership is earned through service and respect.
Waiguru tumemchagua mara ngapi? Na hata saa hii kama constitution inaweza itikia, Waiguru tunaweza mpe mpaka term ya 3. Na ya utusi Waiguru. Juu wanataka kiti ya Waiguru. Waambie sisi ndio tutafuata Waiguru na sisi ndio tutaamua. Sisi ndio tuko na kura. Hatupangwi. Wewe ukatukana mtu akiwa.
Alright, so Rigathi has actually been attacked for talking ill against Waiguru. Of course, everybody knows Waiguru is loved by her people, because regardless of the bombshells, they always say the mountain loves somebody who brings wealth, and Waiguru is one of them. NYS really did a good deal for them, and she has made it to do a lot for the Kirinyaga people. So I think it's worth it that Gachagua also watches his tongue and watches the boundaries, because he may be working against the opposition again if he keeps attacking anybody around the place. All right. Let's see what else here. Let's see something here.
Cybersecurity is
The last discussion of the night, because we're almost approaching 30 minutes. And I need to go back to edutainment for us and check.
Ngangana na wanaume. Sasa wewe ukiwa mama, ukuwe mwanaume, ukuwe msaliti. Msaliti ni nini? Msaliti. The member of parliament here, the governor, women leaders have betrayed the people of Moya. A traitor is a traitor by any other name. And we must call them out. Kwa sababu, if the MP here and the governor were speaking the way Gachagua anaongea, vile Murango anaongea, Ruto angeona haya, awache kulete mchele from outside countries when our rice has no market. Tukifika hapa Mwea, hakuna maji ya kukunywa. Mambo ya farm roads hakuna. Na sisi tulichagua huyu Ruto, tukachagua mjumbe, tukachagua governor. So, watu ya Mwea muvumilie. Utirebuleta kakata. Utirebuleta kakata. Lazima tutafute kiongozi wa kutestea watu ya Mwea. Watu ya Mwea must get a member of parliament who will speak for them every day wakinyanyaswa na serikali. Na hilo ni jukumu lenu. Tukiangalia hii barabara tumekujia kutoka PI kwenda Gachoka. Sasa mjumbe anasema tunakaa na Ruto, hatutaki kufuata Rigiji ndio tujengewe barabara. Hii barabara imejengwa. Vegas. Tukue tukipiga magoti kwa Soprano atupatie shilingi 2,000. My people, mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi kwa heshima. We guard against division. Let us remain as one. Tushikane kama simiti. Tukikubalia Ruto atugawanye, inywe.
Alright, so that is Gachagua for you, and I think we'll end there, because I'm going to check again on edutainment for us, see whether I can do a lesson, because again, watch hours are still below. Bye bye.